Hi students, I am Dr. Anurag Agarwal and this is OSN Academy of English since 1998. You have all been very laborious for your preparation ऐसा हम मान के चलते हैं. And those students who wish to excel, who wish to prepare for these upcoming very important government examinations like Government Degree College who are already NET qualified, GIC Government Inter College, LT, EMRS, UGC NET and even other exams. These are to be focused mainly. And one thing which you might always be knowing that now we have the different system of preparation, and that is pre plus mains. You have to qualify the pre-examination in all these above examination. Then as per your pre-examination score, you will enter into your mains. And my dear students, the main focus of today's session is that every scholar or student or a person who wishes to have this seat must follow this session till the end, and you will be having like a wow feeling that yes, sir has given me such a detailed description that nobody in India could have done like this, because as a professor I've been teaching the same past 27 years, and the main focus and the main target is that you have to have a skill in writing the answers in the descriptive format, that too with the content rich quality and not with the bookish language. The language of your answers should be free flowing so that the examiner may understand that you have a proper knowledge of the history part, the authors, the movements, and everything. And when you have the nurturing, the subconscious is refilled with the best thoughts, then automatically your pen will flow in a very justified manner. And for this, today's session is very important, wherein I am going to tell you that how to prepare for pre, and accordingly with your pre-preparation only automatically mains will be prepared. One thing, note it down in your copy and pen with your red mark that आज भी हमारी कुछ स्टूडेंट से बात हुई, कल भी हुई, डेली हो रही है, और आप लोग मिस्टेक क्या कर रहे हैं पता है? Sir, I will prepare pre first, then I will prepare for mains. This is a very technical mistake which you are going to do, because pre and mains की जो प्रिपरेशन है वो आपके मेंटल लेवल पे समझने की है, that in the pre-examination you have to follow the MCQs. You have to just tick one option out of 4. But the preparation, for example, you are preparing Anglo-Saxon period, you are preparing Chaucer, Spencer, Donne, anything. You have to go into the in-depth of that chapter, of that subject, of that author, of that history part. For example, if you are asked, I'm just giving an example. Chaucer was born in, 4 option आ गया, तो आपने टिक कर दिया 1340. Now, with these questions which are in depth, because this competition is very high, and believe me students, अपने सरकारी सिस्टम में ये कोई नॉर्म्स नहीं है कि जो बच्चे नेट जेआरएफ क्वालिफाइड हैं या जो पीएचडी स्कॉलर्स हैं वो इन एग्जाम्स को नहीं भर सकते. So your main competition is with those students who have already got the NET or GRF certificates, but because that is an eligibility, so they will all fill this form, because 8th pay commission में the salary will be bombastic. But yes, you have to prove yourself. आपको ये प्रूव करना है कि हम एक अच्छे स्कॉलर हैं and I deserve one of the seats. So main focus is this descriptive writing, because I have been teaching UPSC mains optional to the pan-India students past 25 years. So OSN Academy or me as a professor in English, students know this thing very factually. It is a fact that what guidance I am giving to my students in the descriptive writing and tests, because a lot of hard work is involved. from the very beginning. Once you are completing 20, 30%, 40% of my classes, of my course, you will be getting the questions. Fine. And those questions will be solved by you, and you will be sending those answers in the PDF format. Then that PDF format will be downloaded and the printout will be taken. Then I will study, I will check it. Then as per your answer, a remark and all the missing points will be written by me or will be given by audio message to all of you as per the different students. So this is the the way I teach, and it is actually a very hard task from myself also, and those scholars, those students who really wish to excel, they are most welcome. I have always said that OSN Academy is a channel, is a panel, is a place, is a temple of education where I believe in quality education, and that is the fit audience, though few. I want quality students. Quality का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि आपको quality English literature abhi se aata ho. No, that is not needed, because ultimately you are a student. You have grown up. You have to grow more under my guidance. But if you have that passion, that burning desire in your heart and mind, then OSN Academy is for you. Because जो हमारी मेहनत है वो बहुत ज़्यादा जो है वो इम्पोर्टेंट है, और बहुत ज़्यादा वो हमें आपसे चाहिए कि आप हमें सिलेक्शन दिखा पाएं. So those students who believe in the best quality, they should study only with OSN. And that is the purpose of my coming to the YouTube channel, and totally committed to content-rich classes and content-rich guidance. Fine. And if you believe that, yes, whatever sir has been saying in the past 10 years of social media in the YouTube channel, and those who have already qualified and are listening to me, they can comment on the comment box that, yes, sir, I have followed you. There may be innumerable students in India, but ye sure nahi hai ki they must be watching this class today or not. Now, प्री जब हम क्वालिफाई करते हैं, जब प्री की प्रिपरेशन करते हैं, तो जब हमें हमारी क्लास आप करते हैं, सो यू नोट डाउन सर्टेन फुट पॉइंट्स. फॉर एग्जांपल, आई एम टीचिंग चौसर, फॉर एग्जांपल. So if I am teaching a 40-50 minutes class of Chaucer, this means that if you start writing that content which I am teaching, believe me, it will be like 25, 30, 35 pages of A4 sheet. That much content I speak extempore on camera. So you can imagine that what will be the level, what will be the nurturing of your mind when you are listening one lecture of Chaucer. And then what are the minute detailings in that Chaucer? That is called the pre. Means कि इसके में जो चार option करके आएगा, you will be able to manage that. Now, when it comes to mains, the same Chaucer class will be used for your mains writing, because in the question, in the exam, they might ask, tell me something about Chaucer's humor with reference to the Canterbury Tales. So I have taught that. You will be knowing that how sir has taught, what phraseology, what diction, what feeling, what expression sir has used. So day by day you are growing with my classes, with the content-rich classes, with this. And finally, this is something which is the nail in the bud, because this nobody is in a habit of writing. This is only me as a professor that I am taking so much pains with the students, checking their copies, giving them back, guiding them through telephonically conversation, and a lot more. And that is the satisfaction level. If you are even 99% satisfied, then मेरी identity बेकार है. I feel that my students should be 100% satisfied. That is my motto, that is my hard work, and that is my promise. So that is why I say I want fit audience, fit students, though they may be few in numbers. Numbers don't matter for OSN Academy. There may be 10 or 100, hardly matters, but everybody has to be genuine for qualifying any examination of literature. Any questions till now? anything which is coming to your mind, please come on the comment box and tell me that this is the problem. What is your say on this, whatever I have said just now? And today, to make you understand that how to write the descriptive writing, how to answer the test, I have taken the topic John Donne. And John Donne is not only my favorite, it has been a favorite for every student in the country, whether it is for UPSC, for GDC, for UGC NET, for any examination. John Donne you will find compulsorily in all the syllabus. So just have a copy, pen and paper and see what are the questions which can come in the mains examination. ये गलती बिल्कुल मत करिएगा कि प्री की हम तैयारी कर रहे हैं और मेंस पे हम ध्यान नहीं दे रहे हैं, क्योंकि प्री और मेंस के जो बीच में टाइम होता है वो बहुत कम होता है, और अगर आपने मिस्टेक किया तो इट माइट हैपन कि आप प्री क्वालिफाई कर लें लेकिन मेंस ना हो पाए. तो अगर आप हमारे स्टूडेंट हैं तो ऐसी मिस्टेक आप ना करें. ये आपके बेनिफिट के लिए मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको, ठीक है? So just have a copy, pen and paper and write those questions which might come in the examination, क्योंकि यही questions ही बनते हैं जब जॉन डन एग्जाम में पूछा जाता है. So I am rubbing this and writing some questions for you on the topic John Donne. Fine. Now question number 1 हम ऐसे लिख सकते हैं, comment on Donne's characteristic as a poet. Characteristic शॉर्ट में लिख देता हूं, as a poet, और यहां पे लिख सकते हैं आप with reference to the poems read. करेक्ट, ये लिखा रहता है हर में. नाउ इसका एक क्वेश्चन बन सकता है, bring out some of the leading characteristics of Donne's poetry with suitable illustrations. Now एक इसका और बन सकता है, what is the estimate of Donne as a poet? Estimate of Donne as a poet. देखिए कोई फर्क नहीं होता लिटरेचर में, केवल कुछ शब्द बदल जाते हैं और सेम मैटर रहता है, सेम कंटेंट रहता है. एक इसका और क्वेश्चन बन सकता है, critically examine Donne's poetry. Examine critically Donne's poetry, कॉमा लिख दीजिए आप, कॉमा लिख के लिख दीजिए merits and basically merits and faults. merits या demerits भी लिख सकते हैं या faults भी लिख सकते हैं. merits and faults, again giving illustrations from the poems you have read. Fine. और एक फ्रेज है, वो भी आपसे पूछा जा सकता है, और वो फ्रेज अगर पूछा जाए तो ये सभी क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर है सेम है, उस लाइन का भी आंसर सेम होगा, और वो फ्रेज है द फर्स्ट पोएट इन सम थिंग्स. ऐसे करिए, मैं इसका वो बदल देता हूं, ये देखिए, द फर्स्ट पोएट इन सम थिंग्स. अगर ऐसे पूछें, ये लाइन देकर के पूछें और यहां पे आगे लिख दें कंसीडर Donne's पोइट्री इन द लाइट ऑफ द अबव असर्शन. सो ऑल दीज विल रिमेन द सेम. फाइन. यहां तक बच्चों कोई क्वेश्चंस, कोई आंसर आप देख लो एक बार. एनीथिंग विच यू वांट टू आस्क हियर? Any questions? Now, for example, you have noted down this question, and this is a very, very important session because this session is going to give you a lot of relief today. That sir has explained it so well, whether it is of any examination कि प्री मेंस और डिस्क्रिप्टिव राइटिंग और टेस्ट को कैसे चेक कराना है, कैसे उसमें गाइडेंस लेनी है, कैसे हमें समझना है टाइम टाइम पे कि क्या मिस्टेक हम कर रहे हैं. फाइन. गुड आफ्टरनून ऑल माय स्टूडेंट्स. राघव, शनि, जल्दी जल्दी लाइव आ जाइए सो दैट हम लोग क्लास को शुरू करें. चलिए, तो ये हो गया. अब हम इसमें कोई भी क्वेश्चन ले लीजिए और इसको हम रब कर देते हैं और फिर से लिख देते हैं डन. फाइन. क्वेश्चंस आपको मिल ही गए. अब इसको कैसे शुरू करना है? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन we can take critically examine characteristics of John Donne's poetry with reference to the poems you have read. पहला शब्द ऐसा लगाइए जिससे कि एग्जामिनर जो है ना आपको ही देखे और ये सोचे कि वाकई इस बच्चे ने तो बड़ा कमाल का शुरुआत किया है. बिकॉज एक कहावत है, अ गुड बिगिनिंग इज हाफ एंडेड. शुरुआत जब आप अच्छी करते हैं तो आधी जंग तो आपने पहले जीत ली. एंड माय स्टूडेंट्स हैव बीन डूइंग द सेम परफॉर्मेंस in the UPSC and qualifying the IAS exam. How? Because of writing. The writing is good. The content is so good. So because in these examinations, the content has to be good, you have to face good scholars of the state, of other states also, who might be NET, JRF or doctorate or good scholars from good universities. But you can also excel if you have OSN Academy's guidance with you. So introduction हम कैसे करेंगे? बेन जॉनसन का नाम लगाते हैं. बेन जॉनसन followed meticulously classical rules in his poetic and dramatic work. And he was a classicist. Who was Ben Jonson? He was a classicist. He was a champion of decorum. He was a champion of discipline. He was a champion of symmetry and even regularity. So, he was not in favor of bold liberty as was taken up by John Donne in his poetical composition. तो देखिए, बेन जॉनसन के बारे में बताते हुए और कंपेयर करते हुए हम जॉन डन पे आ गए. Now you can imagine that what would be the feeling of the examiner when you are writing in such a way that writing about Ben Jonson, putting in contrast with John Donne, would fetch you beautiful marks. So, he was not in favor of bold liberty as was taken up by Donne in his poetical composition. But Jonson appreciated Donne as well for revolting against the Petrarchan conventions in Elizabethan poetry. Very important line, and such lines should come in your examination paper. No beating about the bush, compact, condensed, epigrammatic, full of meaning, full of verbosity, full of content, full of feeling, full of knowledge. Every line should be like a storehouse of knowledge for the examiner. I'm again repeating, but Jonson appreciated Donne as well for revolting against the Petrarchan conventions in the Elizabethan poetry. Like Donne की ही तरह, Ben Jonson revitalized English lyric poetry. Now see, this phraseology is so simple, but it is different from the normal core students. मैंने क्या बोला? Like Donne, Donne की तरह ही Ben Jonson, like Donne, Ben Jonson revitalized English lyric poetry. Revitalized English lyric poetry, which had lost its glamour, vitality, and vigor. See the lines. the weightage of the lines. Like Donne, Ben Jonson revitalized English lyric poetry, जो कि अपना ग्लैमर, अपनी वाइटैलिटी, अपना विगर खो चुका था बिकॉज ऑफ इट्स मियर इमिटेशन ऑफ पेट्रार्कन कन्वेंशन. क्योंकि वो पेट्रार्कन कन्वेंशन को इमिटेट करता था, इसलिए वो खो चुका था. बेन जॉनसन considers Donne as a poet, a first poet in some things. अगर ये आ भी जाए MCQ में, तो आपको ये पता होगा कि बेन जॉनसन ने डन को कंसीडर किया है a first poet in some things. So you can use this in your detailed answer also. Now, we will be discussing the greatness of Donne as a poet at various junctures, and we also will elaborate the outlines of the various aspects of his poetry, which will indicate not only his level of mind, intellectuality, but also his greatness as a great lyric poet or as a metaphysical poet. Now, in the body, what you are going to write, Donne was the first poet who included thought and idea in poetry. Donne was the first poet. ये बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट लाइन है, इसको आप नोट कर लीजिए. Donne was the first poet who included thought and idea. Included thought and idea in his poetries. In his नहीं करें, in poetry करने. In poetry side by side. Clear? Donne neglected the Elizabethan conventions straightway. Very important line. ये आपको लिखना ही लिखना है. Donne neglected the Elizabethan convention. Donne, देखिए मैं कैपिटल से लिख देता हूं जिससे आपको याद रहे. Neglected the Elizabethan. डन ने जो एलिजाबेथन फर्वर था, जो एलिजाबेथन कन्वेंशन था, उसको निग्लेक्ट कर दिया. स्ट्रेट वे, सीधा सीधा उसने इसको निग्लेक्ट मार दिया, माइनस कर दिया. ही एक्सप्रेस्ड हिज वेरियस पर्सनल moods and idiosyncrasies. उसने एक्सप्रेस किया अपने बहुत सारे अपने खुद के moods को, idiosyncrasies को, and he also infused the realistic mode of personal urge and immediacy in his lyrics. अगर हम मिडिल एजेस की बात करें, in the Middle Ages, poetry was divorced from thought and reason. Poetry को divorce कर दिया जाता था thought और reason से. It was purely written for expressing emotions. It was purely written for expressing feelings. And Petrarchan influence was a predominating thing. So what happened? By and by, the lyric poetry of the Elizabethan, in the Elizabethan poetry, because of the advent of the Renaissance, which came, and Donne's lyric poetry is quite reverse to the prevailing traditions of the Elizabethan age. बिल्कुल रिवर्स गियर लग जाता है जो ट्रेडिशन एलिजाबेथन एज फॉलो कर रहा था. इसके बाद हमें यह भी बताना है एग्जामिनर को in this question about done. You can use anywhere these statements, this piece of knowledge, that जो डिक्शन होता है, डिक्शन मतलब चॉइस ऑफ वर्ड्स जो हम ये लिख रहे हैं, इसमें ओरिजिनैलिटी is one of the very key factors of making John Donne John Donne. तो हम लिखेंगे ओरिजिनैलिटी, in done, originality in done, originality sorry in diction, done तो आगे लिखना है, in diction, शब्दावली that marks Donne's poetry, marks Donne's poetry. Originality in diction marks Donne's poetry. And this originality in diction, जो शब्दों की कला है, जो ओरिजिनल शब्दों का संग्रह है, includes words not merely from the vocabulary of science. वो जो शब्द लगाता था ओरिजिनल, वो ऐसा नहीं है कि वो वोकैबुलरी साइंस डिक्शनरी से ली गई हो, बट फ्रॉम कोलोक्यलिज्म. कोलोक्यलिज्म मतलब होता है आम भाषा की भाषा, जो हम इनफॉर्मल तरीके से अपने दोस्तों से, परिवार में माँ बाप से, दोस्तों यारों से दिन भर में बात करते हैं. आपने देखा होगा कि जॉन डन की पोएम्स एकदम कोलोकियल भाषा में शुरू हो जाती हैं, बिल्कुल भी स्टार्टिंग एब्रप्ट हो जाती है, उसको कोलोक्यलिज्म बोलते हैं. सो दिस ओरिजिनैलिटी इन डिक्शन, ये जो है ना, दिस ओरिजिनैलिटी in diction, these are very important key factors, key points to be noted for your excellency in the exam. This originality in diction includes words not merely from science, but not vocabulary of science or from science, but from colloquialism, but from आम भाषा. And he selected colloquial diction. उसने जो colloquial diction को select किया, जिसके अंदर विगर है, जिसके अंदर फ्रेशनेस है, एंड वर्ड्स हैं, phrases हैं, those which became rusty because of originality. He deliberately rejected the convention, conceits, images, जैसे कि वर्ड्सवर्थ या वो नेचर पोएट्स नहीं लगाते हैं, फ्लावर्स, स्काई, मून, रिवर, स्ट्रीम. सो उसने कहा कि ना 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 ना, ये these are not my cup of tea. He rejected all these conceits and images which others of the Elizabethans and the later on people did, like using the symbols flower, sky, moon, river, stream, etc., etc. And so, in order to be different and original, he coined new images. And these coinage of the new images were outcome of popular belief, of scientific theories. And in this respect, We have quoted various examples from his poems in many lectures, Donne's diction, his versification. I have taught in my classes in detail about all these things. His vocabulary is very rich. His vocabulary is diversified. It scrupulously avoids the hackneyed poetical and colorful words and expressions. He exploits the resources of the colloquial, the plebeian words. ये सब शब्द आपको लगाने एग्जाम में. He exploits the resources of the colloquial and plebeian words, which may be unhesitatingly yoked with a set of learned technical terms with a generous vision of technical verbal eccentricities, ambiguities, and confusion. So consequently क्या होगा? There will be a production of bizarre effect. The vigor of colloquialism is evident in the poem if you have read The Good Morrow. And if you see the beginning of the lines, opening lines of the poem Good Morrow, I wonder by my troth what thou and I did till we loved. This is called colloquial bhasha. I wonder by my troth what thou and I did till we loved. Donne repudiated Elizabethanism in lyric poetry. ये वर्ड आप लगाएंगे और तब अपना मार्क्स देखिएगा और सिलेक्शन ना हो तो बताइएगा. Repudiated. Donne repudiated. देखिए मैं लिख देता हूं. Donne ये वर्ड का इस्तेमाल करिएगा. He repudiated Elizabethanism. Elizabethanism in lyric poetry. उसका जो rhythmical structure है, it is governed by the nature of the passion. His rhythmical structure, his rhythmical structure, these lines you have to write in your copy in your examination. His rhythmical structure is governed by the nature of the passion, is governed by the nature of the passion, comma लिख लीजिए, feeling, by the nature of the passion, feeling, and mood, and at the same time it is in and at the same time it is in accord. मतलब समझते हैं? It is in accord with the diction imagery, with the diction, comma imagery and attitude in the poem, and attitude in a poem are not concerned with limited number of moods of love as in the case with Elizabethan lyrics of love. जबकि Elizabethan lyrics में, while in Elizabethan lyric, his love poems, there is a mood of despair, there is a mood of frustration in love, and their themes are concerned with despondency and bewailing of the lover of the for the beloved. In the done lyric, there is the variety of moods, even the mood of fulfillment, even the mood of joy of consummated love. And Donne is the first poet who has delineated ecstatic joy of fulfilled love in that poem जिसका नाम है The Sun Rising, the anniversary, the good morrow. So everything contributes to the vigor, everything contributes to the vitality of the poem. His songs are entirely different from those of the Elizabethan lyrics like Campion and Daniel, yes. Then we can come to the last point, which is even more important to write in the examination about Donne, if such questions are asked. Originality in image and use of sound. Donne was the first poet who has used facts of scientific discoveries of his time in the poetry. The objects which are utilized in the earth, pasted on it, and various other objects derived from various branches of science like biology, like physics, like chemistry, etc. Donne's poetry, poems have a unique clangor of poetic sounds, exquisitely melodious, now complicated, contorted, almost beyond ready comprehension, but never really harsh and always possessing, in actual presence or near suggestion, a poetic quality which no English poet ever surpassed. So that was the level of John Donne. And this is how, in a very simple language, as I am speaking, you have to write your answers well. And how this will come? This can only come by good nurturing, good subconscious filling of the content, the writing, the practice, the mentorship, the guidance. And yes, to complete this question, the complexity of John's personality basically is he was creating the same revolution in the non-dramatic versification as was effected by the dramatist headed by Shakespeare in the structure of blank verse. The form was subjected to the changing configuration of meaning and thought, and the rhythm of the lines was made to respond to the inflections of the speaking voice and the impassioned eloquence or dialectical reasoning. अगर हम लोग ना single line को examine करें, the impression will be one of harshness, one of discord. But if we take the whole poem as a single entity, it will be apparent that his discords are the harmonies not understood. So, एक बार अगर आपको याद हो उसका जो रिदमिकल इफेक्ट है, डन का जो रिदमिकल इफेक्ट है, उसके बारे में ग्रियर्सन ने कहा था डन के लिए कोट एंड कोट में द फर्स्ट मास्टर्स ऑफ एलेबोरेट स्टैंजा और पैराग्राफ इन विच the discords of individual lines and phrases are resolved in the complex and rhetorically effective harmony of the whole group. ये ग्रियर्सन ने कोट एंड कोट में कहा है डन के बारे में. अगर केवल इस कोट को आप याद कर लें और डन का कोई भी क्वेश्चन आ जाए, इसको चिपका दें, तो आप यकीन नहीं मानेंगे 2 नंबर तो ऐसे ही बढ़ जाएगा. So this is how you have to write, you have to understand, you have to nurture, and for that quality education, this is important that you know what is good, what is quality, and what is to be done for getting a post in these big exams. So Donne plays with the rhythmical effects. He plays with the rhythms, he plays with the effects, as with he plays with the conceits, and words which seem to be bent upon, and they shock the readers into alertness, necessary for threading the labyrinth of his thoughts and arguments. His rhythm is an irritant which goads the readers continually to move forward, and then all on a sudden pulls him up sharp with some arresting turn. So that is something which Dunn is capable of, and he is that versatile. Now there are various aspects of Dunn's imagery. अगर हम ओरिजिनलिटी की बात करें तो नॉवेल्टी, ओरिजिनलिटी, heterogeneous, yoking, blending towards the trite, the abstract, the concrete are the marks of his imagery, which is dawn. His images are mostly from the unexpected and unpoetical sources. ये बहुत important line बोल रहा हूँ. His images are mostly from the unexpected, from the unpoetical sources, the manifestations of the fantastic operations of his wit, to which feelings and passions are eventually subject. It may be leading him to the hyperbole of imaging his mistress as more divine than an angel, and a bracelet of her hair as a holy relic, apt to inspire the idolatry, and then descend to the level of anticlimax of comparing the lovers to compass, or making the flea a symbol of their heart's union. जो poem आपने पढ़ी होगी, the flea. And when this fantastic wit is supported by passion, the result is actually unique. Unsupported by strong emotion, it comes perilously near the ridiculous. One, so आपने बच्चों सुना, इतनी देर से मैंने आपको केवल देखिए डन ही डन पढ़ा रहा हूं, जिससे आपको एक चैप्टर, एक क्वालिटी समझ में आए कि ये क्वालिटी आपको पूरे सिलेबस में मेंटेन रखनी है, कि एग्जामिनर जब एक क्वेश्चन चेक करे, 2 करे, 3 करे, तो वो कहे वाओ यार क्या लिखा है. And see, this is how the UPSC aspirant, they get selected as IAS officers, because when they write the best. So you can also write the best if you just follow that what sir is saying, that you have not to waste your time from today onwards. Whoever are getting OSN from today, whether for GDC, GIC, EMRS, UGC NET, UPSC, any exam, Punjab Mastercard, or anything. Because once a government job is missed, you are missing many years to it. कई साल चले जाते हैं, 6 7 साल बाद आपके सामने वैकेंसीज आई हैं, चाहे वो EMRS की हो, GIC की हो, LT की हो, GDC तो बहुत ही बेहतरीन है, those who are net qualified. So once again, rethink. Listen to my single words, emotions, feelings, that why OSN Academy is different. It is a different platform, it is a different place where only you are getting quality and nothing else. And yes, you can check each and everything, you can check the PDFs, you can check me, you can talk to me. And yes, you feel like that, yes, whatever sir is saying, it is golden. It is all golden words, that not to make me, for making you get 1 lakh rupees as salary. So that is important. Now, one more thing which came to my mind to complete the Dunn's lecture, Dunn's revival in 20th century, that is the poetry and the criticism of T.S. Eliot, has brought the revival of Dunn to the full flowering. Eliot ungrudgingly applied the poetic devices of Dunn in his poetry. Of the volumes, if you remember, 1917, 1920. He found his artistic devices indispensable for the for the contemporary poetic practice. Thus, he has been considered the poet in the history of English poetry. और कुछ और critics हैं जैसे Richards, F.R. Lewis, Herbert Reed, Emerson, Graves, noted Donne's poetry which possesses richness, vitality, and the vigor of living poetry. And these critics exalted Donne, while Dryden and Dr. Samuel Johnson condemned and degraded him by his critical dictums. The definition of great poetry in the present century is that it is an expression of the whole experience, which is a blending and a mixture of contradictory and opposed thoughts, feelings, and sentiments. Donne's rich imagery, rich conceits, indicates his agility, indicates his vigilance of fertile mind, which may have deep-rooted associations with the feelings and experience. They indicate his sharp, all-inclusive and all-comprehensive wit. His poems, चाहे वो small हो, चाहे वो long हो, possess the unity which emerges out of the intensity of passion and the conclusiveness of argumentation. He is a great metaphysical poet because of his rich themes of his poetry as well as his treatment, his structure. Themes of most of his poems are based upon religion, are based upon love, and thereby indicating the deep-rooted relationship between body, soul, and God, man and his own self. His poetic artifice, basically, his poetic artifice is to put forth arguments in a very controversial manner. Thus, he is basically shining like a star on the firmament of history of poetry, not only in England, but also in poetry. And yes, the besetting sin of Elizabethan lyricism, खास तौर से Spencerian, was its luxuriance and prolixity. The decorative, the colorful, and the meretricious dressing of simple and plain ideas, which were almost concealed under the weight of elaborate rhetoric like ideals in temples under the layers of floral offerings. Donne rescued the lyric from a suffocating ornamentation by wedding it to a passionate speaker which cuts at once to the very heart of the meaning. So this was a complete lecture which I have discussed with you. I hope you will be very happy to get this lecture wherein in the starting I told you that what points to keep in mind, how to make yourself courageous to qualify this exam, and don't waste your time. And if you are doing jobs, and if that job is a compulsory for your financial support or for your family, then only go for job. But if you are in job, take out minimum 3 hours in 24-hour cycle, maybe day, maybe midnight, maybe morning, maybe anything. And unless and until you are into it for less than 2 to 3 hours, it would be actually very difficult. There has to be some support, there has to be some mentorship, there has to be some guidance, there has to be some professor who discusses with you, who can guide you telephonically from time to time, and then you can nurture yourself to be the best. So this is how the procedure goes with OSN, with my classes, with my students. And what to say more, you are most welcome. The number is given on the screen. And just to say, this is a special crash course book which every student possesses for any examination to qualify the pre or the mains or the interview or anything. And these are the 3 volumes of the test series, wherein 1500, 4500 questions which can support you for the world of literature for any exam to qualify. And such things will make you embark your journey to the fulfillment, to the best, and God bless you. Thank you.